March 1st still, our first new sunflower.
We'll just let folks, there's a few more folks can, and then we can get started when you're ready.
Sure, okay. Well, you guys can hear me over here in the food area, right? All right, so I'll just get going since it's already 20 to 7. Hello, everyone. My name is Ken Gurdens. I'm the Executive Director of the Indian River Land Trust. And I just want to welcome you all here today to the co-sponsored 5th installment of the Environmental Learning Center and Indian River Land Trust co-sponsored lecture series. And today's series discussion, of course, is eating local. And we have a lot of folks up here you're going to hear from in a little bit. But I just want to take a second to recognize a few people. I recognize Holly Dill, who is the Executive Director of the Environmental Learning Center, and thank her for hosting us. And I recognize Heather Stapleton, the Education Coordinator. Heather's done all the work to really get this where we are here today and all the coordination, and we appreciate ELC hosting this entire series of seven different lectures. I also want to just recognize Eileen Colony, the board chair of the Environmental Learning Center. And I'll just take a moment to recognize Ralph Monticello, who's our land protection manager with the Indian River Land Trust. We have some other, a couple of board members from both organizations here, so thank you all for coming out and supporting this. I think probably a lot of you already have a little bit more than an inkling about what eating local food is about, and maybe you want to learn more, and maybe you don't, and you just want to learn as much as you can from the start. But I'm just curious, maybe with a show of hands, if you have a free fork or a free knife, just watch out for your neighbor, to see how many of you already eat local to some degree, or consciously eat local to some degree. And I know it's hard to eat local everything. I doubt many of us are able to eat completely, entirely local, but I guess I want to see a show of hands to see if anyone does. Not me.
Actually, a better question would be, how many do it on purpose, where you really try to,
Right,
not just
exactly.
because you have it in your yard, like you go out of your way to eat local.
Great, great. So I think what we'll see tonight here with this nice cast of people here, we're going to be able to be inspired a little bit about eating local and what it means and how it works. And I think it'll be a point of inspiration for all of us as we look at our local farms, as we look at the culture around those farms, and as we think about those farms and those groves and the natural resources that are part of them as well. So with that, I'm going to turn the evening over to Christine Kelly, who is the director of our local extension office, to talk a little bit about sustainable agriculture, what it is.
Particularly in Europe, a tremendous resistance to GMOs. It was being resisted from the basis that it was a kind of an American invasion. You know, and it was going to terrorize all our plants, and it was going to destroy our environment. Comment on that, can you?
I wouldn't necessarily say that it was an American invasion, and I think, I don't know about England per se, but I know in Europe, they're a little bit more educated than the average American is about food, the production of food. And when it comes to GMOs, I think there was more protest because, once again, the research just isn't there to prove that these GMOs later on down the line, a couple of generations from now, aren't going to leave out something in your genetic code. And nobody knows. And I think that was more the protest, was that, I mean, it could be anti-American too, but I don't think so, because one of the biggest companies of producing GMOs is a European country, not an American country. I think that we were more likely to assume that it was going to be okay. Because Americans have this belief that no one's going to do anything to hurt us. So when it came to the development of GMOs, Americans really didn't question it as much as they should have, whereas Europeans did. And I am not stating that GMOs are necessarily bad. I mean, they're practically in 90% of everything we consume. You know, all of the bread we consume, the rice we consume, wheat, a lot of that has
All
already been.
conventional, not all organic.
Conventional, yes, I'm sorry, Kevin, thank you for clarifying that. Conventionally produced agriculture, that's all GMOs now. But I just don't think that the research has been done to prove that it's not going to be harmful somewhere down the road. Any other questions?
How much do all these certifications cost the farmer? You know, the FDA, you know, the USDA, certified organic, you know.
Oh my gosh, I think Kevin and Linda can address those easier than I could.
What do you want, a cost involved in becoming certified organic?
Well, it just seems that there's a cost to you, so why would you want to do it? You know what I mean? I know why in your heart you would want to do it, but that's what I think the consumers have to understand, that the cost of your business probably has something to do with the cost of the certifications and keeping up with them and maybe paying fees and.
It sounds like we're starting to get a lot of questions for the farmers, so why don't you all go ahead and, Doyle, you can start, and we'll introduce them, and then we can start asking them direct questions. Doyle, you want to start?
Well, the reason I guess I got into farming, I came from a farming family. I'll take it in a minute. My grandfather, he moved down to the country. His father was a farmer. My father was a farmer. And it was easy thing to fall into. We grew tomatoes starting out and moved into citrus in the 40s, like that. When I got out of high school, I grew tomatoes with my dad a little bit at the basement with citrus, and we always grew them on a commercial scale. You know, I mean, we used the chemicals, insecticides, pesticides like that. There were some organic compounds, you know, your sulfur, your copper, your always used. That's a natural compound, like I used tobacco does, such as that. For citrus. But things have changed. We even used them in the tomatoes when we grew tomatoes. In the citrus, things are changing now to where different diseases, different restrictions on us, such as that, where if you've been here long, you used to see acres and acres, fields and fields of citrus around. It's not here anymore. It's gone. It's gone to the way of development or disease, or it's just not patterned to grow in some cases. There was a lot of small, small farmers. When I came out of school, you could make a good living on 100 acres of citrus. Now it's very hard. People won't even talk to you if that's all you got. They won't use the big. It's turned more into these industrial style type of farming. I have to say a lot of it has, but there's still a few citrus growers out here that still grow the citrus and grow a good quality product here in Indian River County. There's some of the best citrus you can grow in the world, pretty like that. And it's just a package to get you.
I'm Sean Sexton. I'm a probably even further, more generation farmer than I realized. But in Florida, I'm a third generation farmer, and we're probably all out of farm stock. Truth be known, 100 years go back, and we're all pastoral origin. But my son will be the fourth, and I think he will be. I think he wants to be. And again, it's a thing that I grew up doing, and that's one of the reasons I must say that at some point I chose to be a cattle farmer, and I know quite a bit about it, but it'll also make you humble as hell too, being a farmer and finding out all of a sudden that you don't know a damn thing, you know. And that can be a daily occurrence, and usually is if you're doing things right, you know. You're down in it, really finding out about it. And it's difficult to stand among this group as a local food producer in my industry, and the only way that you could actually realize a local food experience from our ranch. It could be done. It would have to be done this way. You would have to buy a cow from me, and you would have to, I'd help you get it to the abattoir, but you would have to have him butcher it for you, and then it would be yours, and it wouldn't be my selling you meat. It would be you're buying an animal and having it processed, and that would be a possibility, and that's a thing that that we could develop. But
Sean, what about selling shares of a cow, quarter of a cow?
is the homeowners association want to take the cow from the butcher and divide them up, but you'd have to buy the cow from me on the hoof, and I couldn't market meat out of the back of our barn to you and be legitimate. It would have to go to somebody who would be custom cutting and wrapping for you, and it would be, you would have the ownership of, when it turns to meat, then all of a sudden you're into a whole different problem world, and there's USDA inspection, and you're suddenly talking about some scale in an operation. And Doyle just asked me, well, where's the closest USDA inspected meat packing plant? I think it's Central Packing. It's probably the closest, and it's a very large facility, although it's very small by meat packing standards.
Where's that, John?
That's in Center Hill, Florida, over close to Claremont and Bushnell, and it's also the last one. When I was a child, there were 25. So you can see what's happened. The industry has shifted, and it's become the centralization of that whole. It's a segmented industry, and the feeding occurs in a different place than the packing and even the backgrounding, the growing of feeder calves from weaning age to the feeding age occurs somewhere else. So I don't deserve to be up here by the nature of the way we do things.
Well, just say, Sean, if you wouldn't mind.
Pardon me?
We actually buy from a farm in New Hampshire, and we get to New Hampshire in the summer, and they raise their own animals, and then the meat's available for sale, they say. Now, how they get from the point of the live animal to the point at which we buy the meat, I'm not quite sure, but I can certainly ask them when we go up there next time. But it's certainly a farm, and we go there, they've got the animals out in the fields and stuff. And the meat's wonderful.
The reason I asked that question is I bought an eighth of a cow before, but it was under the, I was being really radical, because it was not a USDA inspected facility.
Well, you might buy goat milk and it's called pet food,
Right.
that sort of thing. But anyway, nonetheless, we do some farming. We're grass farmers, and we're harvesting grass into beef. But we also grow greens during the fall, and it turns out that old black men of the cloth any day but Sunday sell greens, and they come and buy them from us. And, so that's another thing, and they're fairly organic too. And it's hard to sell greens to white people. I don't know what it is.
Kevin?
My name's Kevin Adair. I'm an organic farmer here. I can say God bless America, God bless Indian River County, God bless local farmers. I think for all you people to be here is a real good sign for Indian River County. My basic thing is I grow because when I got here, there was no good food, so I started growing my own in my own yard and expanded from there. The local concept, I think, is very, very important, especially with today's economy. We import everything, everything we import, and you can't blame it on the Chinese or the Mexicans or anybody like that, because behind every one of those persons, there's an American business person who is behind that person importing that. So, it all starts right here. Buying local is so, so important. Buying things that are made in America, all that is just so, so important. Like I said, it starts right here. It starts with us local farmers trying to grow what the consumer demands. Like I said, we've been around for about 15 years. We go right down the list. Number one consumer product is lettuce. Hey, that's a good thing to grow. Everybody wants it, so let's buy it. It grows well, so that's where we started. Tomatoes number two, and go down the list, you know. And we try and, on our farm, we try and grow what grows very well and what is profitable. And that's how we stay sustainable financially. I mean, it's nice to have an organic farm and all that kind of stuff, but if you don't make money year after year, you're not going to be there. So like any other business, your bottom line is making money. We're very fortunate that we deal with a lot of top-end restaurants here. We first got into business about 15 years ago. Vero Beach was still Zero Beach, and as far as consumer demand, it sort of is, and it's not only Vero. Florida is the third or fourth most populated state in the union, and it's 40th as far as organic consumption of organic products. That tells you how many unhip people there are in Florida. But it's slowly changing. We're actually having the best year we've ever had, and in an economy like that, that's hard to say. Like I said, we deal with a lot of high-end restaurants, and I talk to chefs on a regular basis. They say, yeah, we're still getting the people coming in. They're buying steaks instead of Alaskan king crab, but they're still getting the people in, and people are still buying food. I really believe that it is a good time to be a producer or a farmer right now, especially in New River County. You know, food security. I mean, anything you see in China or Mexico, you should go like this. You know, you should think twice about buying it. Just, you know, not from because it's from this country, but because of the history behind the problems they've had lately from those countries. So that's what you want to look at.
Could you all tell us where you're located and what you have available to consumers?
Yeah, I got cards and
Actually, a great website to go to is localharvest.org, and I think most of these guys are on there. And just type in your zip and everything pops up, their addresses and what they have.
Let me go real quick about what somebody asked earlier. Is it expensive to grow organically? Number one, you're going to pay the organic farmer or you're going to pay the doctor, okay? It's up to you guys, all right? As far as expense is concerned, it costs money to become certified organic, but there are cost share programs with the federal government and the state that can pay up to 75% of those costs. There's a lot of paperwork involved. There's a lot of paperwork involved in any business, and to keep you straight, it is really good to be, if you see certified organic, you know that person has gone through some paperwork. I've also been an inspector in the organic industry for 13 years. I've been all over the Southeast, Bahamas, Puerto Rico, South America. And there's such a big influx of people doing it and stronger. But when I do an inspection, the inspection can last 4 hours. 3 of those hours are just auditing paperwork, going through it. The other hours are actually looking at the farm or the processing facility. And when I do an inspection with that, your seed inventory has to match your greenhouse inventory. Your greenhouse has to match your field production. Your field production has to match your harvest. Your harvest has to match your sales record. If any one of these are out of bounds or throw a red flag, then you go back and research that. But anything that says certified organic that's made in America is probably you get what you pay for.
I'm Lori Flynn. Heather asked me to come here as a home gardener, because that's currently what I'm doing. This past year, for the 07-08 season, I did have the first CSA in the county, and not having any model to go by, I just sort of made it up as the best I could, and it was very stressful, and it was more than I could handle. Heather was a member, and Sue down here was a member. So this year, that's pushed aside, and I'm just gardening privately. Some of my stuff does go here and there, but I'm not marketing aggressively at all. So I'm the home gardener. Heather asked me to come to be the person that would talk about growing your own, for people who are interested in growing their own. And I'm really leaning towards that kind of thing anyway. I'm very interested in mentoring people and advising people. And so much of the of what's wrong with our food system in this country and health problems and things are because we are no longer an agrarian society. And things were so much better in the good old days, I know, but when we were. And in a lot of communities, say in the Midwest or wherever, you're gonna see a lot of people that still have, you know, every house you pass has its own little garden. But there's less and less of that anymore. And I'm really, really big on sustainably managed systems. I think integrated systems are really important. I like the idea, if you've ever heard permaculture, where everything kind of sustains everything else. Not to say that, you know, you're an absolute closed loop where you don't need anything from the outside ever, you don't need anybody for anything, but that plants, you know, garden crops, row crops, feed crops, and animals all work together. You know, the way we farmed 100 years ago, and the way that the old-fashioned people still do in other countries. And I've talked myself into a hole here, I don't know what to say. When I was selling my things, I never went down the certification road. I really applaud people like Kevin and the Gibbons down at Fort Pierce that go to an valid Brian, yeah, I'm sorry, I want to call you John for some reason.
You can.
You're certified organic? Okay. Anyone who does that and goes to all that trouble and jumps through the hoops and takes, you know, does the paperwork and they have the whole schmeal, I can't do that. You know, I like the dirty fingernails. I don't like the paper cuts. So I never bothered with certification, but you can. No, I don't know where I'm going with that either.
And Laura, you have a lot of variety that you grow yourself. I mean, a lot of folks think that because they live in Florida, they can't grow Well, guess what? Florida is great for at-home gardening because we have a much longer growing season. Granted, the summer is very, very difficult. You're going to have to cut back on the things you can do during the summer. But Laura, you do all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, and I do grow organically, but I'm not certified.
Right, and if I could say that, there's a lot of people like that, and you know, here's a face of farmer that you can look at, and if she tells you something, it's probably going to be true. And you know, there is a cost, and there's a lot of paperwork involved, and there's a lot of people who have only an acre, and it's not financially feasible or sustainable for them to be, but they do practice organic methods and stuff. And there's more farms her size throughout Florida that people who do that, and we got to commend them. There's a lot of people, her neighbors can walk over there and get the best food in the world, and they
my
think,
kids,
and your kids.
My kids can walk outside and pick anything out of the garden and eat it, and I don't have to worry about it. And that's the way I grow.
Linda?
Linda Hart, from the Crazy Heart Ranch in Fellsmere. I grow turkeys for Thanksgiving. They're just turkeys, real turkeys like those. Big turkeys.
And the one that was over there too.
Yeah, that one over there. I said, you know, I think about that when I'm out loading turkeys the night before, and I'm having to knock a couple hens out of 15 foot out of tree so I can take them with me. They're out on the range. I also have meat chickens. I have broiler chickens year-round, frozen. Tonight when I get finished, I get home and I'm loading 320 chickens in one Ocala. We're processing chickens tomorrow. I have, like I said, I have chicken frozen year-round. I have it offered fresh sometimes at the market when I have right after processing. I grew up on the farm. When I was 5, my brother came home from college, spring break, and brought me a trio of bantams. So that's my first chickens I had. I grew up showing beef cattle in 4-H and rabbits, and baling hay, fixing fences. And it's just something that kind of gets in your genetics. You just can't let it go. So I went and had a career in healthcare, and I've kind of come full circle. And I think, like Kevin said, right now is a really good time to be in agriculture. And healthcare is not where I like it being. So farming is just something I've just gone back to. I think
you have eggs.
Yes, I have eggs. Eggs are for pet consumption only. So I don't have to place, I don't follow you home.
Are you on localharvest.com?
I also have a website too.
Will it tell us where we can buy your products?
Fort Pierce Farmers Market, and you can come out to the ranch.
But no retail stores?
I have sold turkey through the Village Beach Market for Thanksgiving, sometimes I have sold things to the Bush Beach Market.
We're just curious where you're located without.
I'm in Fellsmere. I am actually on local harvest. It does, what does it say that it's not, the CSA is not open this year or something? We just left it on, just because to see what might happen in the next year or two. I have 3 homeschool kids, and so I just have to put that aside for right now as far as a business. But I'm just still growing and teach people. But I'm on there, yeah. So you can.
Christine, do we want to wait for questions?
Okay.
There was somebody that had a
I
question.
had a question, is if you can't, if eggs are only for pet consumption, how can you sell chicken meat?
It's unlicensed.
Okay, so-
I'm glad you asked that question. I
But,
forgot.
but,
I get up here.
but chicken is different from beef.
Chicken is different from beef in that it's mandatory for beef and lamb to be USDA inspected.
Okay.
Mad cow and straight beef.
Okay.
Chicken is not mandatory to be USDA inspected as long as you don't go out of the state with it. So I only sell my meat locally.
So when it's processed, you have it processed by what we used to call a locker? Or like a,
I lease the plant and I personally go up there and hire a day crew and process it myself.
okay.
That's USDA regulations with my exemption. I have to process it myself.
Is it the same place that,
No.
no, it's a different place?
No, this is the only small animal plant in the southeast. It's rabbit poultry and rabbit plant in Ocala. And they get stuff, they get in animals as far away as Alabama because they are the only USDA plant in Florida, in the southeast. It's pathetic. You know?
Her eggs, when she says for pet consumption, it's all a labeling thing.
It is,
I
yes, I know
can't,
that,
I get the
yes,
pet
I know
license
that.
and that keeps Department of Agriculture from closing me down. But we are currently working with 2 extension agents in North Florida who are approaching Department of Agriculture on loosening up on regulations.
So if I want to buy a fresh chicken from you and eggs, I have to go all the way to Fellsmere?
You can go to Fellsmere or go to the Fort Pierce Farmers Market on Saturday morning.
Oh, I know, brother.
Yeah, it's down by the water.
And that's the only way you can do it?
Well, I can't, it's pretty
No,
high end.
the reason I'm asking is because Vermont doesn't have all these restrictions about meats and things and everything. You can pay a certain amount a year. You pay the farmer, let's say, I don't know, $200, $250, and you're guaranteed a chicken once a week. And if you want eggs, you do this. And the same thing with vegetables.
We have a local
You can
CSA
have some,
represented as well. We're gonna talk about that
Co-ops,
too.
where you pay the person the beginning of the year, let's say. And then you're guaranteed that you get a basket of whatever is available in that particular farm. But then, I don't know where you pick it up, or maybe they can deliver it to your house.
No kidding, but if you were, one of the problems with Florida is we have no grain here, everything's shipped in. We deal with a lot of expensive problems here. My poultry sells for $5.75 a pound for chicken. But, between feed costs and I lost money on turkeys last year because of fuel costs. Even at $10 a pound for a turkey. And still, with fuel costs, and peaked out the 6 to 8 months ago, I was going out turkeys. So it's tough down here. Florida has unique problems, and also with our regulations, we have a lot of red tape regulations.
So that's where I find out that over here, I go to Vermont every summer, and there's a very small town. It's a village actually, not even a town, because in the winter it's only like 1,200 people. But they have a market, but they also have these co-ops where you have several people get together, and maybe I go this week, buy the stuff and take it to my friends. Next week somebody comes and brings the stuff, and it's always whatever is available. You don't have a choice.
We have something like that represented on our panel, and they're gonna talk. We have that organization, right? It's called a CSA. We have that.
Okay.
We have a question back here, actually.
The one question that I have, when you want to start growing your own vegetables, I'm from the Midwest, so we have a very short growing season. If I were to buy a plant from, say, Home Depot, can I raise it organically? All this I'm saying, I can't do seedlings, because I'm here until May, so it's impossible. So, is there a place, are the plants themselves organic? Is this a stupid question? Or do I raise it at that point without pesticides and?
Are you asking me or?
Yes, you, because you're the.
Yeah, you're the right person. Don't ask me a question.
I'm just not clear on your question.
The question is, does the plant start out as a seedling organic, or can you buy a plant and then raise it organically? That's a plant that is, like maybe 6 inches tall.
Okay, well, what's your desire? You know, what are you looking for? Are you just looking for good, wholesome food for yourself? If that's all you're concerned with, don't get locked into this little organic box. Not to, take anything away from those that really go down the straight and narrow organic path and go to all the trouble that someone like Kevin does. And I think he would agree that if you just want to grow your own good tomatoes, don't worry about what, he probably has to buy certified organically produced seed in the first place, and then it has to be sprouted in organically approved starting mix and fed only, So if you buy a seedling that's 8 weeks old and then you take care of it properly after that, that's okay. It really is.
Yeah, and I think I agree with you. Go to Home Depot or Lowe's and buy them. And what you really want to do, especially in Florida, is look for disease-resistant varieties, because we have a lot, but let's hope they're not GMO. That's
Christine.
Hi, my name is Christine Crawford. I'm in Brevard County, and I do blueberries, and my family has citrus, and I'm starting to learn how difficult tomatoes can be to grow. And I would like to grow some other vegetables and that sort of thing to kind of extend the blueberry season. The citrus that we have is a larger scale, so it's not something that I direct market. It's picked and shipped off somewhere and never seen again. But the blueberries I pick and sell myself directly to customers, and that's wonderful.
Where are you in Brevard?
Melbourne. And I go to the O'Galley's Farmers Market on Saturdays, so April and May.
Christine, a lot of people assume that you cannot grow blueberries in Florida, so can you address that a little bit?
That's very true. I hear that question all the time. People are so surprised to grow blueberries in Florida. The University of Gainesville has developed breeds that are specially formulated for our climate, and they're hybrids of our native blueberries. So yes, you can grow blueberries in Florida. So.
Are you on the site, or are you on the local?
Yeah, yep, local harvest. It's Night Owl Farm.
Valerie and Brian.
I'm Valerie Quant, and my husband Brian here, and we're with White Rabbit Acres, and we're out on 37th Street here in Indian River County. And basically we got into organic farming probably more by accident. We started in citrus and found that citrus didn't do real well in the area that we were because of disease problem, heavy soil. But when we tried to plot a vegetable, we found vegetables did fantastic in our soil. So, we just kind of started doing things organically. And we decided, do it on a bigger scale. Everything did really well. We decided to go ahead and get certified. And we started a CSA this past year with Susan Kiefer, the community-supported agriculture, which has gone really, really well. And we also have a produce stand right on the farm. And we do animals along with vegetables as well.
Brian, you do a lot of other sustainable stuff. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, we do a little bit of a lot of things and try to do some of it well. I make a little bit of biodiesel out there, and we've got a little bit of grass-fed beef and a little bit of goat milk and 2 eggs, and it's all for pet consumption, of course.
Good thing you have lots of pets.
Yeah, we got around 100 pets,
And lamb, that's another thing.
It all seems to go just fine, so I guess there's a lot of 100 pets. But everything we want to do seems to be illegal. But we don't really have a plan. We're just blundering along, doing what's in front of us, but it seems to be working well so far. Like Valerie said, we started off with citrus, and I kind of had the idea that I didn't really want to spray anything that I'd be afraid to stick my arm in the tank to mix up, because I really wanted to grow an orange, but I wanted to tell about it too. Yeah. And of course, you don't get much credit for that in the market when you go to sell things commercially. So it just seemed to make sense to go ahead and go the whole way and become certified organic. We were doing it on just a large enough scale that seemed to be necessary. You know, something else I'd like to just say, you know, organic, we're talking about your excellent slide presentation that Christine gave and everything there. There's a lot of hype about organic and sustainable and all natural, and you know, everybody wants to jump on board with this because anything organic is the largest growth in the food industry right now. It's the only part of things that seems to be really growing, and so you got to really watch out. People aren't just using the term. But what kind of gets me a little bit is I think we all probably could go back a generation or two in somewhere in our lineage we were farmers, and those ancestors of ours were organic. They just didn't call it that because that's the only way that it was done. And organic isn't a silly buzzword, and it's something that only the rich can afford, and it's something that's a fad or a fashion or anything else. In my opinion, it's the other ways of farming that should have been labeled artificially produced or chemically enhanced or some other silly phrase. And the way that organic things were farmed should just simply be food, the way food was supposed to be raised, and that's that, because it is sustainable. I really believe that. And in the end, I think it'll be proven that it does make sense. And when Monsanto and a lot of the other big companies all want to have an organic division because that's what's hot, that's when I say watch out. Yeah. I really think producing things locally is important, and getting to see the guy who grows it and question it and really know what's going on with your food means a whole lot more than any label that anybody can stick on something. And as good as the organic certification program is, it is being regulated by the USDA, and at that level you have a lot of lobbying from some larger corporations. And I think you get into a lot of things where companies want to keep doing things as business as usual, but just switch inputs and, hey, now we're organic. And I fear that ultimately the consumer winds up feeling somewhat duped, that they're not really getting what they thought they were getting when they picture a gallon of organic milk, and they think this cow is out in a green pasture chewing on daisies and just as happy as can be, and if they really visited that farm, then you find out that, well, really it's more like a feedlot, but they're getting organic feed, but they're using manure. That sort of gives a black eye to the whole industry. So, I know there are some groups addressing, but that's why I believe the local thing is important, and just knowing how things are done. Good thing.
Very good.
All right, I like to stand out a little bit when I talk. But the reason that I got into community-supported agriculture, which is what CSA stands for, has anyone here never heard of a CSA before?
It's okay if you haven't.
Yeah, it's kind of it's definitely a hot trend in our country right now, and Florida is not as hot as other areas, but we do have the only one in our area right now locally. And one of the main reasons why I encourage people to join a CSA is not only for growing your food locally yourself, learning those skills again yourself. It is like 1 or 2 generations removed now. Children don't even know where vegetables come from anymore. They get such a thrill out of coming out to the farm and pulling a carrot out of the ground or eating broccoli right out of the plant. At the CSA, it's a family affair. They come at it as a family unit, working together like the Amish used to do, you know. And socializing again in community. It's not just about going to work, going to the store, going home, turning on your TV and eating food by yourself. With the community-supported agriculture, we have potlucks that you can participate in. We have educational talks every month on a different subject. The kids love like the good bugs, bad bugs, or we're doing worm composting coming up. And we did edible landscape, you know, on the weeds. And a lot of what I do is related to what would you have to do if your food supply was cut off? What if transportation was a problem? Even just in hurricanes and loss of power, you know, everybody had to rely on those government, you know, packages that we all ate, right? And people were panicking, you know, their refrigeration didn't work. They didn't have a way to store their meat, was whatever, frosting. So having your own garden, if you don't already have your own garden, this is one way to do it, where you're not responsible for your labor every day. Oh God, I gotta go out there and weed now, and you know, let the whole thing get neglected. When you're working with a group, the group is responsible as a whole, and you can specialize. You can learn different parts of it and educate yourself on these skills where if you ever had to survive and grow your own food, you would know how to do it. And you wouldn't be a victim of what could be coming in the very near future. And that is the way our food supply is going. With the GMOs, with the radiation, with the pesticides. Cancer used to be 1 in 20 in 1900. Now it is up to 1 in 3. We are not improving on the cancer war. Everything is getting worse. Obesity in children, diabetics in children. Children right now are the first generation ever that are going to have a shorter lifespan than their parents had for the first time ever. So it is a major epidemic in our country. To learn how to eat healthy, to learn how to get your food locally and organic is extremely important. It is extremely important. So if you do not know how to do these things and you want to have some of that responsibility taken off your shoulders, you know, join a CSA for a year. Think of it as an educational process. And you can share the share. It doesn't have to be just your responsibility. It's a minimum of 4 hours a month is how we're doing it for a work requirement. Right now we are open to allowing shares. We're halfway through the season. We're about to start our spring crops. We're going to be planting corn, yellow squash, zucchini, cucumbers, pumpkin, butternut squash, spaghetti squash, watermelon, honeydew, cantaloupe, and we have pole beans, a couple different kinds of 15-inch long beans, you know, just things that are fun, that kids never saw, parents never saw. You know, we just harvested over 200 pounds of potatoes. We had red and gold potatoes. It was the biggest thrill in the world for the adults, you know, picking up that soil, getting their hands in, finding the potatoes. It's just thrilling to be out there, and it's something that we are way disconnected with. There's a new term now about nature deficit disorder, not being connected enough to nature. You know, and actually, some people believe this was on purpose to get you away from learning how to farm, get you dependent on going to a store, having to hand them money for your food. And what happens if that's cut off? You're a victim. So, you know, there might be some physical challenges that might prohibit you from being able to actually get out there, but people are learning how to share with someone who maybe is more able to do that part of the work, where there's different tasks that aren't as demanding. But seeing how beets are pulled out of the ground, different colored carrots other than orange, there's many other colors. We've got purple over here today. And then we have about 14 varieties of lettuce. We make a lettuce mix out of it, harvest it all together, triple wash it, bag it. It's the best stuff you could ever believe tasting. You know, better than just a regular organic product that you're getting in the store, which the bags, you know, they don't last more than a few days. This lettuce lasts a month.
Well, because it's spent so much time traveling there.
And it does taste different.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and you know what? Every year is experimental, and we're learning, you know, what works best for the community, because we know that there isn't many opportunities to have this situation, and they do have 30 acres of land, which we're just continuing to open up more and more beds as we're learning, you know, okay, well, we need more. The other advantage to this is you can't get this kind of soil at home. This soil was made with 250 chickens walking all over it, and we used 8 pigs to till and root and weed out the bad things while the chicken tractor followed behind them. that chicken nitrogen holds in the soil better than any chemical fertilizer ever would. And even if you went out and bought your own topsoil or manure and tried to make this several feet of good soil, it just gets washed in. It doesn't hold. It won't last. This soil at the farm has been years of going over it with loads of manure, all 4 different kinds, including hops, organic hops they get from different breweries actually donate that. So even the people who want to have a garden at home, sometimes you just can't get that kind of soil to grow the potatoes, to grow the root crops, the beets, the carrots, and the corn. We have people who have many, many years of experience. They just don't have the space to grow corn. They want to grow corn the way the Indians used to, having the pole beans climb up the corn, having the squash in between to be the mulch for the weed control, and learning Indian techniques again. And so, also we're into the survival, the alternative energy sources. We have a lot of talented people in the CSA. We try to find out what are your talents. If you had to barter again, which is a very good possibility, money might become obsolete this year. So we want to know, well, what do you know? How do you know what would you barter? What can you bring? We have a little survey called Getting to Know You survey to hear what your uniquenesses are that we can share amongst ourselves and be like a little community.
Ken, you have a question?
So for everybody, you said you have another time coming up where people can jump in.
We just started.
And how much is that?
It's $275. We're halfway through the season, as I said. And if you need to, you can split that into 2 payments and, a month apart or so. But most times in CSAs, the money is up front, usually, sometimes in 2 or 3 installments or whatever, because a lot of the costs are up front. And, yeah.
We had another question over here.
Do you actually have pole beans crawling up corn?
Not yet.
You've actually done that?
They're going in the ground this Sunday.
Okay, so,
And
but
we're
you don't
gonna
have,
use permaculture techniques. We have over
Okay.
30 fruit trees, different kinds of fruit trees that most people have never even heard of. Mamey, persimmons, loquats, mulberry, we have figs, variegated lemon, many kinds of mangoes, many kinds of avocados, the monstera, and these trees are all going to grow up, and each one of them is going to be humongous. And that's the other thing, to encourage you to start having edible landscapes. Don't just buy an ornamental tree that has no purpose. We live in Florida. This is Florida's advantage. You can have these edible fruit trees nowhere else in the country. They will grow. So where are you? This White Rabbit Farm right now is located off of 66th Avenue, which is just west of the mall, and it's off 37th Street going west off of 66th Avenue. So there is a website, whiterabbitcsa.org. And actually, if anybody here is interested and you do want more information, I do collect emails to let people know who want to, for many different reasons, for what the talks are going to be and things like that. And if you want, I will pass this around. You can put your name if you want to put your email down. If you want to know more about this, if you're not ready now, but maybe next, when the season starts up again. And anyway, it's educational, it's fun for kids especially.
When does the next season start? Is that October or something?
Well, we'll start working the ground in August, right after the hurricane season pretty much is when we can start doing things. But we'll be planting cover crops over the summer and then officially, I guess, October to June.
Does anyone have any other questions for any of the farmers or Christine, the director of the Ag Extension offices? We have one here.
I just have a comment and a question for Christine. When I was younger, I took steers and forage. The first steer I bought raised was from Mr. Sexton's ranch. And I would suggest that the best way to get one of his steers is to buy one at the 4-H auction at the fair. And you can pool with a couple people and get a whole steer, and let me tell you, the meat is fabulous and it'll last forever. I mean, I think last year my mom and I split one and I still had half of a cow in my freezer. And also Miss Hart's farm out in Fellsmere. I drove from Fellsmere today to come here, and it's 10 miles. I think it's about 15 minutes from here. And I would encourage all of you to go out and enjoy her wonderful chickens.
Yeah, Fellsmere's not that far out there.
And Pet's appropriate eggs are one of the most flavorful eggs I've ever
They are so good.
And I'm not a pet, but my question to Christine is, are there any local outlets for dairy milk or cheeses in the area, besides the fruits and vegetables?
I don't know if everybody heard that question. She was wondering, is there an outlet for local dairy?
I know people who know, but it comes from Brevard.
Okay.
It's picked up in Brevard, I don't know where it comes from.
Bodega Blue makes some of her cheeses.
Yeah. Do they make their cheeses? Okay.
But
Some of them.
But where do they get their milk from that they're using to make their cheese? You know?
Well, made locally is a step in the right direction.
Yeah, definitely. And then we had another question up front, Pam.
Are there any concerns, one of my concerns locally, how always has been, and I don't know if this is realistic or not, overspraying from the citrus groves into your farming areas. Is that a concern or?
Well, if you're a certified entity, you have to have boundaries and buffers that have certain requirements. I mean, there's footage ones, but the best ones are a physical boundary like Australian pines or bamboos or something like that. But there is a definite requirement. And as a landowner and a liability concern, citrus guys are liable for any type of overspray. I mean, even, say two conventional guys are right next to each other and one guy's spraying herbicide, it goes into the other guy's citrus trees. It really has nothing to do with organic. It has more to do with property rights, and overspray is a liability. And nowadays, there's a lot less concern about that because of petroleum costs and chemical costs. So the conventional farmer sprays a lot less than they used to. They're more concerned about that. And also, what the EPA has put on it with nitrates and phosphates coming out of the water system, they're testing now. So they're very strict when they use fertilizers, and they do have to respect the organic farmer next to them because it is a liability.
Thank you.
I have a question for Doyle. Do you sell your citrus?
I've been selling mine commercially for years. I mean, running through the family packing house and such like that. And as far as concerns of sprays and stuff such as that, I'd be more concerned about it.
No, I agree. Your own home.
You know, I mean, we're regulated, we watch, we have to keep records of what we put out. The amounts we put out are pretty minimal compared to what these turf growers and things such as that.
I have another question back here.
Mine's more of a comment, just real quick. I've been in the, thank you for not calling them lawn guys, but the landscape management business for almost 30 years in Vero Beach. And I think really you need to be more concerned with the amount of unregulated spraying and chemicals that are going down in your yards than you do about these guys.
Christine would like to comment on that.
I have two comments. One is that there's no other regulated industry that can compare to agriculture. So even though you may raise things conventionally, our industry is so regulated that a farmer would be cutting his own throat to not follow those regulations. One. The other thing is what Kevin mentioned is true, is a farmer's profit margin is so slim that they don't usually use products that they don't need or don't actually have to have. So that's the other thing. On the other side, of course, is your lawn care industry, and that is where we're having a lot of problems with. FDAX is passing a law, they're going through the legislature to actually pass a law either this year or next year that will require anyone applying fertilizer will have to have a license and a certification to go along with it.
But when you can go to Lowe's or Home Depot and buy the same exact stuff that we have to be regulated for,
well, the
and homeowner is, if a little bit works, then this much more will work even better.
Right, they're going to regulate all of that, even on a homeowner basis.
I think that that's a step in the right direction. I truly believe that.
Because of all of the products in the groundwater and in the surface water, they're going to regulate all of that. Even homeowners, I believe, are going to regulate it.
Guys, not that I want to squelch conversation about this, but landscaping could be a whole nother evening, and we could have a whole nother panel up here. Does anyone have any other questions specifically about eating locally, where to get the produce that these folks have? Any sorts of questions like that?
Is there a
Um,
calendar or a source where we can find out what is being harvested?
Yes, I forget, I think it's the Fresh Florida actually has a seasonal availability chart on their website.
Okay.
The problem is, North Florida is very, very different from where we are. And even our region is a little strange, because it's like, well, are we Central Florida, or are we South Florida? Because some foods act like we're one, and others act like the other. So, take that with a grain of salt also. But those seasonal availability charts are out there. I think if you probably type in something like Florida seasonal availability vegetables or something, it'll probably pop up. I can't remember
Florida
that.
Department of Agriculture.
Yeah, right. It's the Florida Department of Ag, and they have the, what's it called, Fresh from Florida program? The Fresh from Florida program. Kevin?
One question to comment, not to interrupt Kevin, but on the Inland Land Trust website, they, I believe, have a list of most of these producers, and I think it lists what they produce. So you could see when, like when Brian has the squashes or something in.
Or you can just stop by.
Or you can stop by.
You can call our voicemail and tell you exactly what we have to do.
Oh yeah, I love Kevin's voicemail. I've been communicating with Kevin's voicemail a lot lately. Kevin starts a new voicemail at the beginning of the week, and he tells you what they have available that week.
Very smart.
Lori?
I just wanted to say something. I'm kind of getting a feeling that some people might think that about organically produced things, that organic growing means you don't do this, you don't use that product, and you don't go here and you don't go there. It's all about what you're not allowed to do. There is that as far as, being certified and all, but it's more, I like to look at it more as what you do. And you grow things the way they're meant to be grown. You grow plants in soil that is alive, and when you feed your soil and take care of your soil right, your soil takes care of your plants. And you're going to get a better product that way. Your plants are going to be healthier that way. You can use artificial fertility in moon dust and make stuff grow. But if you have good soil and you know what to do instead of what to leave out, then you're going to be getting the healthy product you want.
And to piggyback on Lori, this is certainly not an all or nothing proposition. It's you do what you can, and every little bit does in fact make a difference. So try to start incorporating more local foods or more organic foods from wherever you are right now. Think about one small change that you could commit to making over the next year or so, and keep adding in new things as you go along.
I just wanted to say that one of the things that you benefit from doing this, that we haven't really said, is the most incredible flavor. It tastes like real food.
Everything up there, by the way, was locally produced. Even that turkey and those chickens and all of those veggies, everything save the wine was locally produced. That's our next project, right? But everything over there was locally produced.
I guess just about everybody knows that California is suffering a drought, and the newspapers are telling us that it's going to be 30 to 50% less fruits and vegetables that are going to feed the nation this year. And it's a disaster point. Where is our water supply coming from? Are we using recycled water, well water, or does anybody have reverse osmosis now?
Our water comes from
That's a question. What are we
a
using?
deep aquifer that's underneath most of Florida. Thank God the development in Florida has really scaled back, because we would be, if things were going like they were going 3 or 4 years ago, we would be facing major water problems. And we're going to go through a drought period ourselves too, I think most farmers we're so conscious of our natural resources and stuff, and water is the top one. I mean, you can't grow nothing without water, and I look at water as the most important issue, and like California's going through it, and we could go through it too. Like I said, thank God development scaled back, because we wouldn't have a water problem. We've talked about that extensively. The water quality in this area has gone down as far as
we have a water problem.
We do,
We have a real bad salt intrusion in a lot of our deep wells from it, just shallow water table being dried up and it's drawing in. I guess they claim it comes, you know, strong salt from somewhere like that, but then I hear the aquifer comes all the way from North Carolina. Yeah, here's it, so I don't know how those worlds work, but I know we have real bad. It's so bad that I grew citrus in my greenhouse and it would burn the leaves, the salt.
I guess, you know, for the first time ever, the governor of Florida now is gonna tax water. I guess, you know, we need money in the State House.
Well, they got
Budget's a
well
mess.
regulated too.
So it's,
By St. John.
for the 8 major water companies now are gonna start paying taxes on every bottle of water that goes through.
The water districts, is that what you're talking
Yeah.
about? Yeah. See, South Florida, they get all surface water, you know, they've got canals and stuff, but if they don't get rain, it doesn't get replenished, but when you down in South Florida in the summertime, they get plenty of rain, so.
Yeah.
But 30 years ago, you think you'd ever be paying $1 for a gallon of water?
Unbelievable.
You know?
How about a pint?
Yeah, right, with
The
$2.
kids don't know any different.
Well, thank you so much for all of you for coming this evening, and thanks to the farmers so much. That we can keep talking, and there is some food left over there. But before everyone gets going, one thing we would really appreciate if you give us your comments on the yellow comment card. And then the Indian River Land Trust wants to take it a step further, and each and every.
If you were in it.
Hey, Scott.
Take some pictures for the rest of us. I forgot my camera. I'm bummed.
This is a video camera.
Oh, you don't have a... Who was just here?
They were from Pack. What did they say?
125.
125?
Pack? True? Pack?
125 or 425? Yeah.
I wonder if they're from out of the area.
They got to be.
Because they can come in.
Yo, yeah, we could use Avalupa or Tanakita. We can use any.
Who's that? Oh.
It's Sammy.
Oh my god, there's not Max going in her car.